Logical Dad.
The Lazy Baker.
Take me back to old Yazoo. Everything up here is new. I can't stand it, just must land it. Going back.
Hassan had been a baker all his life, just like his father and grandfather before him. Every morning he woke up before the sun, mixed the same dough, and baked exactly 50 loaves of bread. Hassan would bake 50 loaves because he reasoned there were about 50 families in the village, one loaf for each, no more, no less. It was the way things had always been done. But over the years, Hassan began to notice something that irritated him. Some mornings he would sell out before noon, leaving hungry families to walk away empty-handed. Other times, the loaves sat on the shelves until evening, stale and unwanted. At first, he brushed it off. Some days are good, some are bad, he told himself, wiping flour from his hands. But as the weeks passed, he began to notice, just like the unsold loaves that hardened, his earnings had grown stale. They never rose, never changed. Meanwhile, the village was evolving. Some families had grown larger, others had moved away, and new faces had appeared. Yet Hassan kept baking the same number of loaves at the same price, as if time itself had stood still. One evening, as he swept the bakery floor, he sighed. "Perhaps it's not the world that's wrong," he muttered. "Perhaps it's me." That night he made a decision. In the coming weeks, Hassan still baked the loaves he needed, but he was paying attention. He watched which days were the busiest, when people arrived, and how much they bought. He noticed that on market days, when traders filled the square, he sold much more, but on rainy days, only a few villagers braved the cold. Slowly, Hassan changed the amounts of loaves he baked to suit the day and season. On busy days, he baked more. On slow days, he baked less. At first, it felt strange, almost wrong, to break from tradition. But it worked. People were happier, and he no longer threw out stale bread. His pockets, for the first time in years, felt heavier. Then, just as he started feeling proud of himself, a new problem appeared. Some mornings he ran out of flour before he could bake enough bread. The village mill could only deliver so much, and on the busiest days he would run out and have no way to get more. Hassan became frustrated with not being able to produce enough on busy days where he could make much more money, instead having to shut the bakery early. He hated seeing disappointed faces. That night he sat in his empty bakery, his head in his hands. "What's the point of knowing how much bread to bake," he sighed, "if I don't have the flour to bake it?" For days he struggled with the problem. Should he wake up even earlier and try to get flour from another mill? Should he beg the miller for more? None of the answers seemed right. Then, one evening, as he walked through the market, he overheard a conversation between an irritated customer and a merchant. "The price of wool is higher than last week," the customer said. The wool seller nodded and explained kindly, "I'm sorry about that. The shepherd hasn't been able to bring as much wool lately. His sheep didn't grow as much fleece this time. Because there's less wool, he had to charge me more, and that means I have to charge a little more too." Realizing that the reasoning made sense and that she had no other option, Hassan stopped in his tracks. That was it. The next morning he tried something new. On days when demand was high, he raised his prices slightly. Some people grumbled at first, but they still bought the bread. After all, they needed it. And on slow days, he lowered his prices, encouraging people to buy extra loaves instead of waiting for another day. To his amazement, it worked even better than before. When demand was high, the higher prices stretched his flour supply. When demand was low, the lower prices made sure nothing went to waste. Hassan was making enough money for himself and was also able to spend money on other things to improve his life. He was making the most of it. One evening, as he locked up his bakery, he looked around the village square. His bakery was thriving, and his customers were satisfied. He considered the idea of buying a mill house in the future. All these years I thought my job was only to bake, but running a bakery isn't just about making bread, it's about understanding people, what they need, when they need it. From that day on, Hassan was no longer just a baker, he was an entrepreneur, and a successful one. Dear Mom and Dad, at first it might seem like Hassan was just looking out for himself, but in reality, his small changes, baking fewer loaves, adjusting his prices, taught him an important lesson about how markets work. In a free market, when entrepreneurs see an opportunity to make a profit, they rush to fill the need. If a wool seller raises prices too high, others will start producing or selling wool too, bringing prices back down. Greed often gets a bad reputation, but in the right system, it can do something wonderful. It drives people to create, to improve, and to bring more of what people need into the world. Hassan wasn't just making bread, he was learning how to serve his village better. And when businesses compete to do that, everyone benefits with more choices and better prices. A rising tide that lifts all ships. Technology applied to a fair and free market always brings prices down. If you see prices moving perpetually higher, it is due to interference and corruption in the money we use, and not necessarily the companies selling the products.